G'day guys, Andrew from Oz Evo here. So today I am going to do a quick video review of the Fatboy Racing Evo 9 billet rocker cover. This item is available from Fatboy Racing. They're a Malaysian based company. They retail for $850 US, which is around about 1200 Australian dollars at current exchange rates. They are pretty much a copy of the frontline billet valve cover, rocker cover. As far as I can tell, look exactly the same kind of breather port arrangement. The other one on the market that's available is the Hypertune cover. It is similar, a little bit different shape, has different breather port positions. So these both sell for more than this one. The frontline one I think sells for about $1,400, and the Hypertune one for about $1,300 from SSM. So you're saving a few $100s to go with this one. Whether that's good value for money might be a question you've got to ask yourself, but I'll go through the pros and cons of this unit and you can make that decision for yourself. So how this came to be on my car, I had a OEM cover on it originally. I painted it with a wrinkle coat, the VHT wrinkle coat red. Lasted for a few years, but that started to peel off. I actually sent it away to a guy to get it recoated. He had some issues with his equipment and gave it to a third party to do some blasting to get the paint off it, and that third party, I think, without actually having seen it yet firsthand, dropped it and damaged it. So the cover I deemed was unrepairable. I'll put some images up in this video so you can see that. So I hunted around for a new one, spoke to Jimmy up at ERS. He had a few available OEM ones. Now the issue I've got is that I run two breathers off my OEM one. I tapped all that out, removed the baffles and tapped the baffle attachments out, the rivets out, and put little 4mm bolts in. I didn't want to have to go through all that again, so I kind of thought rather than spending the $700 or so on an OEM unit, I would go aftermarket. A friend of mine, Alex, who's one of the other admins on the page, Alex Toffler, he had this one for sale. He had purchased it previously, was going to put it on his Evo 9, but the car's been off the road for a while and he was kind enough to sell it to me. This one has been anodized black, so the standard ones obviously just come billet silver, so that I'm not sure you paid extra for that or whether it was just one of the services they provide. But anyway, so I purchased this one off him, fitted it up. Yeah, so it's not perfect. It's had a few issues. I'll go through the pros and cons. So the pros of the thing is probably the look is one thing. It's a little bit different than the OEM. It's got the beveled sides on it here, so it looks a little bit more kind of rounded. It also doesn't need to use a plate for Denso coils. That's the old one of mine. They bolt directly onto the head, so that's quite a clean look. It has the breather ports in place, so that's a big thing for me. It uses 2-10, actually it uses two M22 threaded holes, breather holes on the top here with a baffle underneath it. So that is a bit less work if you're running this kind of arrangement with your breathers. It doesn't use a PCV valve on the back, so that was deleted off my car. It's probably not as necessary if you're already running the two big breathers on the top of the valve cover anyway. Yeah, so they're the kind of pros, the looks, the coils, and the breathers. But the cons, there's a few more things. So originally when I fitted it up, I couldn't get the bolt holes around the outside to line up with the holes on the head. What it actually was the side of the unit is a bit thicker than the OEM, and it was actually sitting against the cam sensor housing. So it wouldn't allow it to go far enough to the right, so I actually took the cam sensor housing off and used a die grinder just to remove a little bit of material. It's just a few mils, but it's enough to allow it to just move slightly more to the right on the head, and lined everything up. So that's not perfect. I have actually spoken to Fatboy Racing about this online, and hopefully they'll address that issue with their more the newer versions they're making. Yeah, probably the biggest issue I had with the unit are the breather ports. So the universal norm for all these kind of oil fittings is orb fittings. So they would normally use an orb to O-ring, which is basically a straight-sided orb with an O-ring on it. This guy decided to use M22 threaded holes. Really hard to get M22 threaded gear. It's kind of used in on oil coolers and stuff, but I couldn't find anything locally available, so I ended up using two fittings from Aeroflow. These are things called an AF909 in a -10 size, and they are a low profile O-ringed orb to standard orb for the side here. It's not a perfect fit. I actually had to put a few extra O-rings in there to get it to sit correctly. It does work well. I've driven it, no oil leaks or anything, but it's not perfect. It's not a easy thing to do. Even these parts I had to order in from Wollongong Auto Supplies, where I get most of my gear. They've got the biggest collection of Aeroflow stuff I've ever seen in a shop, but they didn't have these in stock. They had to order them in. Not a problem, they got them in within like 2 days, but it's just another kind of hassle. It'd be good to be able to buy stuff straight off the shelf. If they'd used orb stuff instead of the M22, it would be easier. So that was one of the other problems with it. Third problem is the bolts that hold it down to the head. So the standard Evo bolt for the head to the valve cover, or the valve cover that hold it down on the head, is M6 by 1, 25mm long bolts with a hex-headed bolt. Problem is they don't fit, because this one uses this system with small holes, and the valve cover is a bit thicker, so I needed to buy 13 M6 by 1 30mm long bolts, so 5mm longer, and I needed to get the Allen key headed ones so they could fit down in these holes here. No way to put that little rubber O-ring that the Evos use on their valve cover bolts. They're probably not needed for this anyway. I think it's more to distribute the weight, the pressure over that magnesium valve cover, which is quite a delicate thing. I use them on the inside below the coils, but around the outside I just use a spring washer and the M6 bolt to hold it down. So that's just, it's not a big hassle, but it just means you've got to go out and buy another set of bolts. So whether that's a big problem. Third problem I had was the baffle, or sorry, a fifth problem in this case, well, the baffle. So I don't actually know if they're going to work that well. They're a very basic design. They're just a metal plate that sits about probably 4 inches along underneath the breather holes. I'll have to see the catch can and see what's going in there. I might need to do a little bit of a modification for those, but I mean, compared to the OEM baffles, which are quite a complicated thing, they are quite simple, but anyway, we'll see how they go. Like I said, I drove it today, had no issues, but it was only a 20-minute drive, so whether it'll be the same going for it up local mountain pass, we'll see. Other than that, it's all fairly good. Like I said, looks nice. It's a little bit cheaper, a few $100s cheaper than the other two available units. It's purchased from Fatboy Racing directly, as far as I know. There might be a local distributor, but they have it on one of their Facebook pages. Their actual website's pretty rudimentary. It doesn't actually have any, as far as I can tell, just having a quick look at it, any product information on it. This thing you can see if you look onto their Facebook page, which I will also link up in the description on this video. Yeah, so that's about it. Just something a little bit different. It comes with the metal or aluminium screw-in oil cap. So I think the Hypertune uses like a plug with an Allen key. I think this is a better thing. I did add an O-ring to it. There's actually a slot in there. It didn't come with one as far as I know, but it took me 2 seconds out of my O-ring kit to put one in. Yeah, so that's quite a nice little feature. Yeah, so not too bad. I am quite happy with the purchase. And hopefully it'll do the job, look a bit different, a point of difference in the car, which is always nice to have. Anyway guys, that's about it. Hope everyone's safe and going okay with now that the COVID restrictions have been reduced a little bit. Hopefully it'll stay that way. Hopefully we'll be able to organise a cruise pretty soon, go out and go for a drive if you guys get you to come along. It would be really good to see a few faces. Okay, thanks very much and have a good week. See you later. Bye.